This is News Central. I'm Kemeni Amano.
And I am Mawina Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now.
Three weeks. That's roughly the estimated time the Council of State will have to arrive at a decision whether or not a prima facie case has been found against the Chief Justice Gertrude Saki Tokonu following petitions to have her removed. Now, President Mahama has forwarded as many as 3 separate petitions to the Council of State demanding the removal of the Chief Justice. The latest makes 4 petitions submitted for the removal of the Chief Justice. Now, details on the current petitions remain unknown, but we can show you what processes a petition must necessarily go through before the removal of a Chief Justice, one like Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu. So what are those processes? According to the 1992 Constitution, in order to remove a Chief Justice, now these conditions must be fulfilled. First, the President must have received petitions, and we've told you that so far there have been 4. I'll explain why. At the moment, the President has only forwarded 3 petitions to the Council of State. The President must also consult with the Council of State. Obviously, that's why he's done that as part of the statement that was released from the presidency last night. Now, what will the Council of State be doing? They'll have to determine that there is cause indeed for the case before them. There is cause for the removal of the Chief Justice. Once that is done, when that prima facie case is determined, or if it's not determined, then the petition will then be dismissed. So those are the conditions that will have to be followed in order for the Chief Justice to be removed. Now, so it goes on to also say, and by it I mean the 1992 Constitution, that where a petition has been referred to a committee under this article, the President may, in the case of the Chief Justice, acting in accordance with the advice of the Council of State by warrant signed by him, suspend the Chief Justice when a decision has been taken by the Council of State. Well, we also want to find out, really, have these processes ever gone through before? Remember, Chief Justice Tokonu will not be the only one to have a petition against her. But so what have we seen in the Fourth Republic? Philip Edward Archer, Chief Justice between 1991 and 1995, no record found on him. Isaac Kobina Abba, 1995 to 2001, no record found on him as well. Edward Kwame Redu, who was Chief Justice between 2001, excuse me, I need to get rid of that, 2001 and 2003. Could we see that quickly? I'm going to show you that quickly. Just hang on for me. Should be one of these. Well, there you have it. 2001 and 2003, we know that there was a petition against him by Francis Janku Asasi Kofi. The basis of that petition was that there was some line under oath about his date of birth, whether it was 1934 or 1932. Again, Francis's case against the Chief Justice was that he had perjured himself. He had also deceived Parliament during vetting to extend his tenure and committed perjury by providing false information to a public officer. So that is what we know as far as the petitioner against the Chief Justice Edward Kwame Redu between 2001 and 2003 is concerned. But how did that turn out? That's what we are going to find now. The conclusion of that case was that the petition failed, mostly because Edward Kwame Redu voluntarily retired. And so that petition failed. Again, Kwame Redu will not be the only one to suffer such a fate. Between 2003-2007, Judge Kingsley Akwa, Chief Justice then, was also petitioned against. His removal was sought by Bright Oblite Akwete. The reason for Bright's petition is really simple. Judicial interference He accused the Chief Justice at the time of instructing judges on how to rule on specific cases. In that, there was an abuse of office, misusing his authority in judicial matters, and victimization of judges who spoke up against him, essentially. That petition, again, woefully failed. We also have Georgina Theodora Wood. This one many of you remember because it's quite recent. 2007 to 2017, there were 2 petitions against Georgina Theodora Wood. Citizens of Lahome and abroad petitioned the president at the time to remove Georgina Theodora Wood. The basis for that petition, again, unfair handling of land cases related to the Gadangbe people. We also know that there was the petitioner, Ernest Obri Latte. Basis for that petition was stated misbehavior and incompetence. How did that petition also end? That petition. Right. The last one I wanted to show you was against Chief Justice Sophia Ekufu. That petition was brought against her by Mensa Thompson of ASEPA, and we know that that petition failed. Let's get on to the phone lines now and speak to former director of the Ghana School of Law, Kweku Ansa Asare. I appreciate you talking to us, but good afternoon to you. Let's talk about these petitions that, indeed, these 3 petitions that have come up against the Chief Justice. My guess is you are not surprised based on the history we have just detailed to our viewers.
Yes, I'm not surprised. But let me say that the petitions are becoming one too many. They must come to an end. And a lot of them are frivolous. So most of them should no longer be entertained to bring an end to the mushrooming of petitions.
I see. I want us to focus particularly on Chief Justice Tokonu, also because this will be the 4th petition against her. Based on history, she will be the only Chief Justice in this 4th Republic to have as many as 4 petitions against her removal. Do you still consider that frivolous?
My sister, it is not the quantity of petitions that should concern us, but the quality of the petitions. In order for the petition to be looked at all by the constitutional bodies or persons mandated to examine such petitions, you need to find out first, what the criterion is. If you look at Article 146, Clause 4, where the Chief Justice decides to go into or inquire into a petition, the Constitution says that there must be a prima facie case. So unless a petition raises a prima facie case, it should not be entertained. In the case of the removal of the Chief Justice, the prima facie case element is missing. And this has given some worrying concerns as to whether any petition, regardless of its frivolity, must necessarily, be entertained by the president for onward submission to the Council of State. So let's be cautious, in entertaining the petitions, that are emerging. A lot of them are frivolous and vexatious. I heard you say that one of the petitions against former Chief Justice Georgina Wood, former Chief Justice Kufu, talked about judicial interference. And in the current case, Tokonu State, they raised allegations of judicial interference. Do we have the evidence?
I see, lawyer, are you referring to...
Do we have the evidence that any of them...
Lawyer, hold on for me. Lawyer, hold on for me. There are 3 petitions as of now. we do not know the details of those petitions yet. However, we know that under the Akufo-Addo administration, there was a petition. The detail that you have just said about judicial interference being the basis for the petition, are you referring to the Akufo-Addo period petition?
Yes.
Right.
Because that's the matter in hand.
Right, which is where I want us to move on from, right? Because that petition didn't go anywhere. Here we are, three more petitions. Do you expect this petition to move beyond the Council of State?
I will not agree with you, in your suggestion that that petition didn't go anywhere. It went very far. It went very, very, very far. Which enables the former president, to make a final determination. Now the question is, in determining the petition that sought to remove the current Chief Justice, I am referring to Kwetua's petition, did the former president act in accordance with the provisions enshrined in the 1992 Constitution? And, what do I refer to? I'm referring specifically to the processes outlined in Article 146, Clauses 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now, Article 146.6 outlines the procedure. It says that where the petition is for the removal of the Chief Justice, the President shall, acting in consultation with the Council of State, appoint a committee consisting of 2 justices of the Supreme Court, one of whom shall be appointed chairman by the President, and 3 other persons who are not members of the Council of State, nor members of Parliament, nor lawyers. So let us, for the sake of argument, for purpose of argument, suppose that when the former President received the petition, he did all that. Then the question that arises is, because the petition submitted by Kwetua's was for the removal of the Chief Justice, the Petroleum leadership, did the former president consult? Did the former president consult with the Council of State as mandatorily required by Article 146? If he did, then we move on to, did he set up a committee? Was it in compliance with Article 146? If he did all that, then the next question, the committee appointed under Clause 6 of this article shall inquire into the petition and recommend to the President whether the Chief Justice ought to be removed from office.
Right.
Was any such committee set up? Did the committee that supposedly was set up inquire into the petition? Did they make any recommendations to the President whether the Chief Justice ought to be removed from office or not? How do we get hold of their recommendations?
But again, that is what the current administration or the president of the day is trying to do. That is why it's been forwarded to the Council of State. So the process is
what has been forwarded to the Council of State is not, I believe, is not what President Kweku...
no one has said that.
Submitted to Nana Akufo-Addo, the former president.
Yes, absolutely. Lawyer, follow me. I'm saying that 3 petitions have come up. And the President, John Dramani Mahama, has forwarded those petitions to the Council of State. Now, I only made reference to the petition during the presidency of Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. That since that petition did not have any conclusive effect to remove the CJ, do you expect that this one could perhaps have the same effect, or it would indeed result in the removal of the CJ? What are your thoughts? Is there any stated misbehavior that you know at all, as far as the CJ is concerned?
But the president will be wrong in referring any petition, whatsoever, to the Council of State. If the earlier petition submitted by Professor Kwetua's has not been dealt with, if it has not been dealt with, because we all know that that petition, the machinery has been set in motion, for the inquiry to be conducted. If it has not been dealt with, Why are we collecting many more petitions, and for what? When we do that, we are turning the whole thing into a political persecution.
No, hang on, lawyer. Can the president reject petitions if they are brought to him?
The president must act in accordance with the Constitution.
And he is, isn't he?
The president cannot override the Constitution. I'm saying that my submission is this: that if the pending petition has not been dealt with, there is no good reason for the president to collect new petitions and forward same to the Council of State. He must deal with the arrears first before looking at fresh ones.
Very well.
So we have to find out whether Professor request clarification was dealt with.
Understood.
Now, if we find out, and it is found out that the former president did not act within the dictates of the 1992 Constitution, then that petition must now be revived. Let them bring it up for the president to act strenuously, rather than be tolerating fresh and fresher petitions.
Indeed.
It's not going to help us.
Very well. Lawyer, thank you so much for talking to us. Kweku and Sasari, there for you. Thank you so much.
Still stay on the subject matter and take you to Parliament right now in relation to what the reaction on the floor of the House has been, even as MPs prepare to sit, and so they are not on the floor of the House just as yet. Christian Yale is my colleague who's been seeking to gauge the mood of parliamentarians as with the latest that we're hearing, President forwarding 3 separate petitions to the Council of State. A determination will be made as to whether or not there's a prima facie case against the current Chief Justice. Christian is joining us right now with details. Chris, talk to us about what MPs have been telling you with respect to the latest we've been hearing from the President as regards these petitions seeking the removal of the Chief Justice.
Eric, so what I can tell you for a fact is that the New Patriotic Party MPs, the minority caucus, is currently engaging its leadership on how to go about a reaction to this development. I earlier, a few minutes ago, off record, spoke to one of their spokesperson for legal affairs, the MP for Swami, John Darko, who indicates that the caucus is readying itself for a full, detailed reaction to what we have heard from the presidency concerning this petition. But you know that, I mean, when that vetting of the Chief Justice took place, I was here in the chamber to cover that vetting, and the then minority had raised, objections to her approval, citing issues in relation to the annulling of the election of James Jachikwesin for Asin North. And Gertrude Araba Tokono was on that 7-member panel that took that decision. And so that minority then, which is now the majority, had issues to do with her position on that, case and the ruling thereof. But they later yielded and, approved her regardless, stating that she had all the competencies that were required thereof to execute that task. And so right now, I'm seeking to know that, very briefly, to get reaction from the majority now, what they make of this decision and the forwarding of the petitions to the Council of State for a decision eventually. But for the minority side, we are yet to know exactly what their take is going to be on this matter. And so very shortly, we may have that reaction from their side on this matter. Eric.
Right, Chris, stay with me and let's switch topics now from the CJ and these petitions, because we know in Parliament the Energy Committee has leveled claims of legal breaches against the Electricity Company of Ghana, and this follows ECG's failure to remit some 50% of levies collected under the Energy Sector Levies Act to the Ministry of Energy. although the power distributor has started making partial payments, the committee found that full compliance had been a challenge. These revelations and amongst many others have been captured, and I want to walk viewers briefly through some details as was captured when the Energy Minister yesterday addressed the media, and those details are going to come up on your screens right now in relation to other matters in relation to containers going missing at the port as well with respect to ECG. Let's walk viewers through that, and then I'll come to you, Christian. And so that's what's on your screen right now with regards to the Electricity Company of Ghana, where yesterday revelations were made that some 2,491 uncleared containers were at the port, but an independent audit has found that only 1,161 of these containers are still at the port, with 1,328 unaccounted for, and that's more than half of the containers that have gone missing. And the cost implications, we're looking in the regions of some 1.5 billion cedis, and ECG had previously dedicated a fund, a clear fund for clearing these containers, but that stopped in 2022 with the citing of lack of funds as basis. Also, we know that they've awarded contract to 2 firms for clearing the containers, one of which was pre-financed by ECG as well. And then the revelations as well laid forth that one of the company which was contracted lacked the necessary requirements. Their procurement directorate was merged with the Housing and Estate Unit, which the Energy Minister found problematic. And then the Director of Procurement had no prior experience and was not a member of any professional procurement body. That and what the committee is revealing is what has become matters of concern. Chris, what more observations have they made which is leading to this, and what are they seeking to do as the Energy Minister is before them seeking approvals for budgetary estimates?
Exactly, Eric. So what we know basically, what the committee is seeking is a parliamentary oversight over the duties and the responsibilities of the Electricity Company Limited. What we know also is that the minister himself, John Abdullahi Jinapor, upon meeting the committee based on these revelations, has issued a directive for a strict adherence to the remittance requirement. But what you know is that, this government is seeking to increase rural electrification project by some 90% by the end of 2025. And so these levies of funds from ESLA are basically needed to ensure that government is able to embark on this exercise. So failure to do which means that government will struggle to go about that duty. And so it has become a concerning issue really to know that over the last year or more, ECG has not been able to remit about 50% of the levies that it has collected from the ESLA funds. What we know also is that, going forward, even though some partial payment have been made, the minister together with the committee are calling for full adherence and just seeking to know that ECG is able to strictly abide by law as it is stipulated. So that is the situation. But we also know that it has not even been ECG alone. The committee has identified that there has been a reduction in oil production by some 22% over the last year, as well as the Petroleum Commission, which has exceeded its budget for 2024, and also that of the National Petroleum Authority, which also overspent on its excess budget, what you always would call as capex. So these are some of the issues, but the committee, among many other things, has recommended that there should be an increased budgetary allocation to the NPA to allow it to engage or embark on its activities and fully meet all its obligations. Eric.
Christian, thank you very much for those details. That's my colleague Christian Yale in Parliament for us as well, touching on matters in relation to budgetary approvals for the Energy Ministry expected. As you know, this budget has taken a rather interesting turn where all of the respective ministries are going before their committees for approvals to be granted on that front, and then it will be brought to the floor of the House, where the ministers will move the motion separately for approvals, and then decisions can be taken as well with respect to that. And so that's the latest with respect to what's happening in Parliament. But let's move away from Parliament right now, where the National Association of Graduate Teachers, they've called on President John Mahama to immediately withdraw the appointment of the Deputy Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor Smile GC, over claims that she is not an educationist. Now, at a press conference addressed by the President of NAGRAT, Angel Kabunu, the association is ready to meet the President to discuss appointment into the Ghana Education Service, and any failure, they say, will result in industrial disharmony. The executives, meanwhile, of CLOGSAG, who were present at this news conference, said CLOGSAG will solidarize with NAGRAT if it declares the strike. Daniel Opoku is our Labour Affairs correspondent. CLOGSAG themselves have been on strike for quite a while. But Daniel, what exactly really are these issues? They say she's not an educationist. That's never been an issue of concern. Why are they raising it now?
Right, so good afternoon to you, Marina. Let's put the issues in perspective. Now, when I listen to Mr. Angel Kabunu, basically what he's saying that Professor Smile GC is not an educationist and also has not been within the space of the pre-tertiary education. She was one time a former rector of the Koforidua Technical University. So Kabunu is of the view that Professor GC should rather be focusing on trying to move upwards rather than coming down to the pre-tertiary level and also wanting to be a Deputy Director General of the Ghana Education Service. Kabunu is arguing that there are people within the GES who also have the requisite qualification, competencies to head or to be the Deputy Director General of the Ghana Education Service. The reason they want the woman. But interestingly, this is not the first time. We do recall somewhere last year, 2024, when Dr. Elgin Kansa was appointed to be the head of GES.
Exactly.
The leadership, yes, exactly. The leadership of the pre-tertiary teacher unions raised similar concerns. Unfortunately, they lost that fight because then when the matter went to the National Labour Commission, the NLC directed that they should go and form what you call scheme of service. All of that they have is only conditions of service, and the conditions of service basically captures the ranks to rise to become either Director General or Deputy Director General, but does not indicate entry point and exiting point for everybody to become either the Director General or the Deputy Director General of Ghana Education Service. We have been able to conclude about unfortunately implementation has not been done. Then we have Professor Smile GC, who has also been appointed as Deputy Director General. Right. So Professor Nagat is saying that the woman should be removed, or else there is a possibility that the industrial fund is likely to be affected.
Let's take a listen to that address.
In this country. A fortnight ago, NAGAT raised its objection to the appointment of Professor Smile GSA as the Deputy Director of the Ghana Education Service on grounds that Professor GSA is not a professional teacher and therefore have not gone through the ranks of the Ghana Education Service to warrant appointment to the position of Deputy Director General Management Services. Our information about Professor GC is that she was once a rector of the Koforidua Technical University and was removed due to certain developments. Those issues, we don't think it is necessary to go through them. The position taken by NAGRAT is based on the principle that pre-tertiary institutions have capable men and women to man the various positions, and that the Ghana Education Service is part of public service with its own public service rules and regulations. There are minimum qualifications of entry, rules and regulations for promotion, and the various ranks established in the conditions of service.
So that's Angel Kabonu, and we know that he says a failure by the government to heed to their demands will result in industrial disharmony. Another group which you mentioned is partnering them in this line of action is Clocksack, who themselves have been on strike for quite a while. What's the update in relation to their industrial action and a possible way forward as well?
Yeah, so the case of clubs they are still on strike, and but somewhere from next week, Wednesday, the strike would have extended to 1 month. And the indications you are taking that they have not received any concrete information from government. So my informal discussions with the executive secretary, he indicated to me that government has requested for them to call up, for them to give government 3 months for the man in charge of that and that's when to still be able to at post for 3 months. And after 3 months, they are likely to ask him to exit. But this particular plea has not been brought in by Clocksack. So Clocksack is still on strike, asking government to get the man removed, or else there's nothing they are going to do. Even though they are officially written, they are going to write to the Minister of Labour, Health and Employment to request audience with the President, to be able to sit down and look at how the public services and the civil services are going to be paid from all political appointees. That people within the services who have been able to educate themselves of value will also be able to mount up a particular position.
Right then, Daniel, thank you very much for those details. That's Daniel Opoku. He's our Labour Affairs correspondent, speaking to us this afternoon in relation to threats by NAGRAT demanding the removal of a Deputy Director General of the Ghana Education Service.
This afternoon, the presidency has released nominations for district chief executives across various districts in the country. Now 71 nominations have been confirmed and many more still pending. Well, let's connect with Safwa Boahene, who has an explainer on this new development.
The President of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, has nominated district chief executives, DCEs, for several districts across the country. This nomination aligns with Article 243 of the 1992 Constitution and the Local Governance Act of 2016, as amended by the Local Governance Amendment Act of 2017. Currently, a total of 71 DCE nominations have been confirmed across 8 regions, with 190 nominations still pending to complete the total of 261 districts nationwide. Notably, Pando districts in the Volta region is still marked as pending. Key regions such as Greater Accra, home to the highest number of districts, along with Ashanti, Northern and 5 other regions, are yet to be announced. The vetting process for these municipal and district chief executives, MMDCEs, has been overseen by a 9-member committee since January. The final appointments will be subject to approval by respective assemblies. As we await the final approval, the question still lingers: how impactful will the work of these newly nominated district chief executives be in advancing the reset agenda of this new government? Will their contributions be pivotal in shaping local governance and driving development initiatives? Only time will tell.
Safwa Boahene with that explainer. You're still live here on News Central on TV3. We'll take a quick breather. When we come back, we'll bring you more stories from across the country.
And you're welcome back to News Central. Now, a downpour on Tuesday evening wreaked havoc in parts of Accra, leading to severe flooding and infrastructure damage in areas such as Medina, Legon, Okponglo, and East Legon. The intense rainfall submerged roads, disrupted traffic, and caused billboards to collapse. At the ANC Mall in East Legon, a carport reportedly, or not reportedly, caved in due to the strong winds and heavy rain, adding to the destruction. My colleague George Queenin is currently at the scene of that particular destruction. He's been visiting quite a number of areas, but he's made a pitch stop at the ANC Mall right now. Let's try and get details from him with respect to assessment that's been done by officials and what more he can tell us. George, what can you tell us since you got there? What have you been gathering? George, can you hear me? Well, George appears not to be present at this particular point in time. Challenges with network, but we're working on that to bring George to you. And you're seeing in your shots really pictures of what yesterday was a rather disturbing scene, and it sparked lots of conversations on social media about safety when it comes to these times and what you can do and what you cannot do during the times of the rain as well. All of these and more are conversations which have come up following yesterday's rains. Some of the vehicles not so badly damaged, others suffered severe damage, but you're seeing in your shot really work being done, cranes or machines being brought to lift off the solar panels, some of which came tumbling down on a number of these vehicles. We're told 80 vehicles were packed there when this happened. We know as well at places around Spintex as well, trees were uprooted and fell on individuals as well. Just a bit of a struggle in being able to connect with George Queenin. We will establish the lines and then connect with George for you, and then we can get perspective in relation to really what's happened there. But we can bring you some other stories right now in relation to jobs at this particular point in time.
Absolutely. Indeed, because the Employment Minister, Dr. Rashid Pelpo, says the government's initiative Work Abroad program will be fully implemented in May 2025. He says this is part of plans to help deal with unemployment in the country. He spoke on Agenda with Beatrice Edu.
But you are talking about the plans we have.
To fully roll it up.
To fully roll this thing out.
Yes.
It's going to be in a very formal way, organizing all the companies that are involved in it, registering all the companies, knowing their capacities and their strengths, and then getting them to inform us the number of people at each point in time they are able to send out of the country. So when they bring the list, we examine the list, we tell them how the process of getting them, we follow the process until they exit. So it's not going to be any complicated matter, but it's going to be a very, something that is going to be with an oversight.
Should we expect that this will be fully rolled out this year?
Yes.
It will be fully rolled out this year?
Very soon it will be rolled out. Within 2 months, things will start happening.
Within 2 months from March?
From March, things will start happening.
Now, a new report by the Ghana Statistical Service has revealed significant gaps in access to quality in education here in the country. Despite 2 decades of policy interventions, the access to and quality of basic and secondary education in Ghana between period 2000 to 2003, launched in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, highlights disparities in enrollment, teacher availability, and student performance across regions.
The report shows a remarkable increase in gross enrollment rates over the past 2 decades, in 2001 and 2023. Kindergarten gross enrollment rate more than doubled from 51% to 122%. Primary gross enrollment rate rose from 80% to 90%. Junior high school gross enrollment rate increased from 64% to 98%, while senior high school gross enrollment rate tripled from 25% to 72%. Despite these gains, net enrollment rate, which measure age-appropriate enrollment, reveal gaps. In 2023, only 47% of 12 to 14-year-olds were enrolled in JHS at the correct age, and 2 out of 3 children aged 4 to 5 were in kindergarten. Quality of education varies widely across Ghana. The people-to-train teacher ratio is particularly concerning in the northern, northeast, and savannah regions, where each trained teacher handles over 50 students, more than twice the ratio in Greater Accra with 25 students per trained teacher. The findings have sparked calls for urgent investment and reforms. Minister for Education Haruna Idrisu admitted that while access to education has improved, ensuring quality remains a challenge.
Why do we still have schools under trace? It means that a section of Ghanaian children are still not able to access free, compulsory, universal basic education. That means, without coming to the statistician, that category will necessarily and naturally be denied free senior high school. So we need to invest more in our basic education, and that will be the policy blueprint of President Mahama to do more investment in the provision and attainment of free, compulsory, universal basic education.
The Executive Director of Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asare, called for greater investment in basic school infrastructure and tertiary expansion to accommodate the increasing number of secondary school graduates.
It's not about access increasing. Access has been increasing at the national level, but it's not same in deprived districts. We are churning out 500,000 secondary school graduates annually, and less than 35% of them are making it to tertiary. If you look at that number, about 60% are getting grades that should take them to tertiary. But only about half of that number actually make it to tertiary. There are access deficits in terms of cost. There are huge challenges with accommodation.
The report will serve as a benchmark for tracking Ghana's progress towards sustainable development goals.
There's more news to come. Don't go away.
And you're welcome back to News Central. We're starting off on Regional Hub, where Managing Director of the Ghana Water Company Limited, Adam Mutawakilu, has given strong indications that water supply to the Tamale metropolis, Sanyarigu and Savalugu, will be improved to serve growing demand. According to him, he's instructed the regional chief manager to draw a timetable to ration water to ensure equity in distribution. The water company is unable to produce water to meet daily demand of water in the greater Tamale metropolis and its adjoining municipalities, a situation they blame on obsolete equipment and growing population. Let's take a listen to the MD Adam Mutawakilu when he engaged the media in Tamale.
Look at how the system is being run within the township. Water should reach out to the residents. So the first strategy is to ration. That means pick areas to serve over a week. So it will be moving from one area. If it is Zoboli today, tomorrow it could be Vitim, the next day it could be Sakasaka. So I've instructed the chief manager in charge of Northern region to come up with the rationing timetable, so that residents will be aware that today we'll get water, so that you store enough for the remaining days you will not have water. 2 is the age of some of the pumps. Some of the pumps are so old that we need to replace them. A pump that has been working for 53 years, you know, definitely it cannot be that efficient.
Adam Mutawakilu is MD for the Ghana Water Company. Christopher Marco is my colleague. He's one of the individuals who engaged the minister. Let's find out briefly from him what residents in Tamale are saying in response to the minister's statements. Chris, talk to us about the response to this latest directive from the MD of the Ghana Water Company briefly.
The residents are expressing optimism that once he mentioned about rationing of the water, they believe that if that is done, possibly it can alleviate their sufferings, because as it stands now, some suburbs and communities for the past 4, 5, 6 months have not had water flow through their taps. So they are hoping that with this announcement from the MD, if the water is rationed, they will be able to store enough till the time that they will open for them. All they want is that water should get to their homes. So they are expressing some level of optimism with his comments.
Thank you for those details. We'll leave it here. Christopher Marco is my colleague in the northern region for us, following up on the water situation there. Let's bring you some more stories from the regions.
This time, the Ashanti region, where newly posted teachers have petitioned the regional minister over unpaid 7-month salaries, alleging repeated appeals to the Education Directorate have gone unheeded. The aggrieved educators are demanding for an immediate resolution regarding their salary anomalies amid growing frustration.
Teachers posted in July 2024 began rendering their services in September. Despite being validated for payroll, many have not received a single paycheck, whilst others were paid for only 2 months. After months of unfulfilled promises, dozens marched to the Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council to submit a formal petition.
We have been to the regional office several times, and when we go there, we have been told that our documents has been worked on, everything has been done. Then sometimes when you call controller, who is also responsible for disbursing the funds into our accounts, they will tell us that our new entrance forms has not also been given to them. So as it stands now, we don't know who is telling the truth and who is telling the otherwise. So we are confused.
Every month comes with a high rise of BP, because the first month there was 1 month's salary, the money didn't come, the second month 0.00, and the third month our name vanished. So please, those in charge, they should help us, because it's not easy for us.
This issue has precipitated a whole lot of financial hardship, harassment from creditors, and a whole lot, because some of us rented with loan, some of us are parents, and some people depend on us, and we've been denied our remuneration.
The Ashanti Regional Education Directorate acknowledged the delays, citing administrative hurdles, but pledged to fast-track resolutions.
Some are looking for salary arrears, which they have to work from the district level. Some also were validated, but at the end of the month, they received 00 on their pay slip. So it means they didn't receive any money at all. We asked them to give us the information about those who have not received the salary at all. We have to compile all these names and then send to headquarters to seek redress.
The aggrieved teachers are scheduled to meet with the Education Directorate on Wednesday, March 26, for further discussions. For now, they remain in limbo, caught between their commitment to education and a struggle for survival.
That meeting, I suspect, will be happening now. We'll get details of it subsequently. But the Chief Executive Officer of the Jomoro Petroleum Hub Development Project, Dr. Tony Obi, has expressed concerns about the previous administration's failure to secure the land for the project. Compensations worth 200 million cedis due the affected communities are yet to be paid. Irama Smith has more.
Petroleum Hub Development Project in the Western region, with an estimated total cost of $12 billion, spans over 20,000 acres. It will feature, among others, 3 refineries, 5 petrochemical plants, 10 million cubic meters of storage facilities, jetties and port infrastructure. Ancillary services will include power plant, rail and road networks, L&D terminals, pipelines, water treatment facilities, waste treatment facilities, logistics and security services, residential and commercial facilities. However, the delayed compensation has raised concerns about the project's impact on local communities. At the sword-cutting ceremony of Phase 1 of the 3 phases on August 19, 2024, then President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo had instructed the Finance Ministry to release a total amount of 200 million as compensation for the affected communities.
And people of Jomoro in generously offering their land for the development and advancement of this important project. In recognition of their contribution and with deep appreciation, I've instructed the Ministry of Finance to release as the first step towards the discharge of the liability for compensation some 200 million cedis to commence the payment of land compensation to the affected communities.
But this is yet to be done. Some affected residents of the Nawoli enclave, where 20,000 acre plots of land have been acquired for the project, have raised concerns with the plot size, compensation and corporate social responsibility issues. At a meeting with the Western Regional House of Chiefs in Sekondi, CEO of the Jomoro Petroleum Hub Development, Dr. Tony Obi, said the unpaid compensation is a challenge.
The President is so committed to ensuring that this sees the light of day. We know that there are challenges at the moment. The previous government secured 20,000 acres of land. Unfortunately, not a penny has been paid. So when that happens, even though you have used state's muscle to acquire the land, not having paid becomes a problem.
And that's it for Regional Hub. And that's it from us this afternoon. It was a midweek this Wednesday.
Yeah, right? Midweek.
Yeah, and so we're looking forward to tomorrow again.
Indeed.
We'll be back here. I am Awina Egbeka.
And I am Kemeni Amano. Next is the afternoon show. Stay on.